Hi, I'm Stephen Schwager. I'm the garden manager at the Marin Art and Garden Center. The Marin Art and Garden Center is a non-for-profit public garden located in Ross Valley, California. Today we're going to talk about how to keep your summer harvest going strong. Tomatoes are probably the most popular summer vegetable to grow in the garden, but they do require some care if you're growing indeterminate tomatoes. Again, indeterminate tomatoes are the tomatoes that'll keep growing like a vine. Determinate tomatoes don't require as much care because they grow into a bush, and the bush stops growing it when it reaches its mature size. So we are going to be pruning the tomatoes, and we're also going to be training the tomatoes to the trellis. There are two schools of thought when it comes to pruning tomatoes. Some people say don't prune them at all. There are others that say you really need to remove the suckers because they're sapping too much energy and you're going to lose control of how the tomato grows. To identify a sucker, you look for these leaves that are coming out at a 45-degree angle from the main stem and the side shoots. I like to prune about half of the suckers off. That allows the plant to have enough foliage to keep the fruit from getting sunburned, but it also promotes air circulation. We really need to consider that living here in Marin County because we have cool, moist nights. And when you have cool, moist nights, that's the perfect condition for powdery mildew. So we want to try to remove some of the foliage to let the air get to the plant so the powdery mildew doesn't form. So when training tomatoes, you start off by using string to keep them close to the trellis. But when they start getting top heavy, you need to actually attach them to the trellis. I use a Velcro tape and actually tie the tomato to the trellis because it's getting so top heavy, you want to make sure that it stays strong. Training cucumbers is similar to training tomatoes. They're both vining vegetables. So you want to help the cucumber grow into the trellis, and you also want to remove any yellowing foliage as well as excess foliage that might prevent air circulation and therefore create an environment for powdery mildew to develop. Here's our squash bed, and as you can see we have many different varieties of squash growing. So squash grows in two different ways. Either they are bush varieties of squash or they are vining varieties of squash. With the bush variety of squash, all you need to do is remove the yellowing or browning leaves. With the vining variety of squashes, you may need to help them in the trellis by simply pushing the leaves through to make sure that they have a good, strong hold on the trellis. This is where we had our garlic planted. We harvested a couple weeks ago. Last year, we harvested our garlic and I didn't want to see an empty bed, so I planted some butternut squash not expecting a harvest. However, we had a great harvest, and the butternut squash was planted in July. This year, I planted red curry squash, and I planted it earlier, so hopefully this year we'll get an even better squash harvest. It's not too late to do a successive planting in your garden. Here, we've done another successive planting. These are beets. This is where we had beets previously. Some people don't think you should plant the same vegetable variety in the same spot, but we haven't had any trouble with that. What we have had trouble with are voles. So the voles have come up and you can see that they've eaten the beets, the beet greens. So we need to chase the voles away. An organic way to do that is with peppermint oil. This is an essential oil, it's organic, and the voles are really repelled by the aroma. It may take a couple of tries, but over time, a few days, the voles will find another place to live. So all you need to do is apply 3 or 4 drops to the holes where the voles are living. If your eggplant is happy, it's going to produce a lot of fruit. Unfortunately, sometimes the weight can be too much for the plant and it can break the stems or even cause the plant to tip over. So you want to give the plant a little help by staking it. You can use ordinary bamboo stakes or you can use these plastic-coated metal ones, which I prefer because they're stronger and they last forever. So when you're taping your vegetables to a stake or a trellis, you want to make sure that you don't do it so tightly that the plant has no mobility. It should move a little bit and just be enough to give it some support. So those were just a few tips to ensure that you have a great summer harvest. For more tips and videos, you can visit our website, magc.org. This is Stephen Schwager. Happy gardening.